Okay. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon. Uh, it's always interesting once you get the woman to start to talk, to give them 5 minutes, 8 minutes could be an overshot. But this time, with the engagement of the ladies up here plus the talk, we have to be precise. We have to get out from here from about 50 minutes. We are giving ourselves 8 minutes, but cut it to 5 minutes. But I think we can handle it. Okay, without much ado, I shall introduce our next session, which is Women in Business and Entrepreneurship. We are talking about leadership and also the success factor, how to become effective leader. Okay, and as you know, it's being stated in our little handout just now that we have out of 252 million entrepreneurs, from 582 million are actually women, and I think more are rising. So that impact, what it tells us is that woman is playing a much more significant role both in business and economics. Yeah. So with that, we have five panelists, and briefly, their excellent CVs are in the papers. I would not read it out so that we have more time to cross exchange of the views. So without much ado, I will go into the first speaker. Right? The first speaker is Ms. Barbara Minette. She's the founder of the World Business Chamber and co-chairs the WWEBS 2023 Organizing Committee. She has an excellent resume as handed out. In view of time, I shall get you to start off our summit. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. It's now 11:05 or 12:05. I'm just checking my own time. Hi, ladies and gentlemen. Um, we live in a world of crisis. I think a new word has been coined, which is polycrisis. And in researching for this event, I wanted to find out how the world's business leaders are dealing. How do they operate their business in this polycrisis world? As I was not in a position to interview them directly, I found a shortcut, which is that I went to the World Economic Forum, and they have a podcast on where they interview the business leaders, particularly those who attended the Davos meeting this year, the World Economic Forum annual meeting in 2023. And I read the interviews of many women leaders. I followed them, I listened, I hear what they had to say. And I learned two things, and this is what I'd like to share with you. The first is that these women are extremely confident, and they were not talking about the environment, the institutional constraints. They were talking about how they manage, how they lead their organizations and their business using their own operating system. This is like, if you want to change the organization, you be the change you want to make. If you want to be a great leader, be a great person. It was not to be a great woman, but to be a great person. If you want to be a better leader, be a better person. And this is actually the first time, and it's like aha moment, that the realm of personal development and the realm of business development or management sort of coincide. And there was a particular woman leader, which really resonates with me. Her name is Nicola Mendelsohn. She's a VP at Meta, which is the holding company of Facebook. She had follicular lymphoma in 2016. This is a rare blood disease, cancer, which she has been managing. And because of that experience and because of other things, she has an operating philosophy, not to control only what she can control, not to worry about things that she can't change, and also to focus on areas where she could make the biggest and the most unique impact. And so she translates this, she uses this personal operating philosophy into her business, which was successful throughout the COVID. And it was very impressive, I thought. And that got me to think what my personal operating system has been and whether I have applied it in business. And the answer to both to that is yes. And so I'm really privileged and honored today to be with so many brilliant women and men. So I just like to share, and it's also a success formula, and it boils down to a simple formula, which is E plus R equal O. E stands for event, R stands for response, and O stands for outcome. You know, you can't control the event. Stuff happen, you can't control. But what I've learned is too many immediately responds. They go into, I have 3 options to respond, and I'm going to use 1 or 2 or 3. But actually, what the key is to focus on the desired outcome. What is the desired outcome I want? And then you customize your response to this event, which you can't control, to the desired outcome. And I've used this all my life, only I've now, been able to put it in this formula. And then I just thought to myself, if say President Bush or whoever was in charge, after 9/11, instead of saying, God, we got to respond, and let's go and invade Afghanistan because that was the best response we could make. If they have paused and saying, what is the outcome, the desired outcome that is best for us and best for the world? We might be now in a different place. So that was my first learning, that people, women, I'm sure men do, but since we are talking about women leaders, that we're using our personal operating system to run our business, to manage the world, to manage our business. And the second thing, and this echoes a lot of what the other speakers have said, is that we have come a long way. 50 years ago, exactly 50 years ago today, this year, I made history. I was the first woman who was allowed on the floor of the London Stock Exchange. Can you imagine? Yeah. Women were not allowed on the floor of the stock exchange. And I was there as the first woman. I mean, we have come a long way. But this is the kind of history that I would share at this event and tell my grandchildren. Although, if I were to tell them, the world where where things are not all online, not all digital, would be unbelievable to them. So, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is another story for our future. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, Barbara, I sounded like we are in the same contemporary, yeah, because during my time, there was hardly many ladies. But now I'm so proud to see so many women leaders. So that is, history have changed. So I think we can share certain concepts, yeah, but we shall not reveal our age. So the next speaker we have is Dato Azlin Ahmad. Of course, every one of us in Malaysia knows her. She was a former president of Association of Bumiputera Women in Business, which is Perniagawati. Yeah, it's still surviving, yeah? Yeah, yeah. I am a member, a very silent member. Yeah, she has also a very impressive credentials, legal background, and that's a profession, and have already contributed a lot for the SMEs and so forth. Let's hear from her what she has to share with us regarding leadership and entrepreneurship and what the challenges that can arise and also opportunities. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Datuk Moderator.
Yeah.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good afternoon to everyone. So I'm just going to speak from the point of view, the perspectives of the women entrepreneurs. Because today, actually, we've heard about women as employees, women as leaders, women as consumers, and in a lot of roles that we play. But I'll zoom in on women entrepreneurs for this session, right? So um, although we always hear about women entrepreneurs, and actually I've got a lot of colleagues here who are presidents of women entrepreneur associations and members of women entrepreneur associations. But actually, the statistics show that in Malaysia, out of 1.3 registered businesses registered with CCM, the Companies Commission of Malaysia, or SSM, Suruhanjaya Syarikat Malaysia, only 20.6% are women-owned business. All right, women-owned business, they defined it as having 51% equity, women having 51% equity, or woman being the CEO or MD and holding 10% equity. So it's only 20.6%, which comes up to about 260,000 businesses. I think considering that the population of Malaysia now is 50-50, thereabouts, right? We have a long way to go to improve on this 20.6%, especially because entrepreneurship is a very good career for women. If you think about it, especially now, I mean, if you're an entrepreneur, you can work from home, you'll be better at your work-life balance, right? And a lot of things can be done from home with the flexible hours. So it is a perfect career for women. So why is it only 20.6%? All right, are women. But I gather it's also because a lot of women are in this so-called informal sector. We've all heard about this informal sector. That means women who are in business, but they did not register any business entity. But actually, me being a lawyer, I like to say that actually there's no such thing as this informal sector. Because if you are running a business, you're selling something for profit, you need to register a business entity with SSM. Otherwise, it is an offense. So I think we should do away with this informal sector and give the wrong signal as if we are encouraging people to be in this informal sector. So I would urge also for all women to make sure you're registered. So after we only have 20.6%, as I said, and after the COVID, it became even lesser because during the pandemic, it was reported that about half of the SMEs had closed down, and of course women were affected as well. So it's like we have lesser number of women entrepreneurs, although after the COVID last year was a good year for women entrepreneurs to build back and start again. In fact, it was a very good year in terms of trying to build back in a way which is better, which is stronger, and so that we avoid doing all those mistakes that we did, which was very prominent and during the pandemic, right? But unfortunately, the report says that the numbers of women entrepreneurs is still deteriorating. All right, it's not going up, so we need to do a lot of work on this as to why, right, it is going down. And I think part of the reason is because for us in the NGOs, we go down to the ground. Right, we actually some of the things that we read, in the reports and all that, it's not the same as what it is when we go down to the ground. When we go down to the ground, I think part of the reason why women entrepreneurs are not like progressing in terms of quantity and quality is also the fact that women are very good salesperson. They like to they're like serial entrepreneurs. Whenever there's something, they see that there's something that's going to sell well, they just sell. They don't care about all the other things about how they're going to manage their company, how they're going to plan their company, what products they're going. I mean, trying. They don't think about the long term. They're very good at short-term sales. But I guess that's a virtue that's good because maybe what they are thinking about is just getting some income and putting money on the table for the family, right? So that's good. But at the end of the day, I mean, if you are running a business, it needs to be I mean, we need to think about it long term, right? So we need to plan properly. We need to organize ourselves, increase our skills in organizational management skills, financial skills, and all that, so that we can run the business in a longer time. And I think that's what women entrepreneurs in Malaysia need to improve ourselves in, right, in terms of this long-term strategy to make sure that our business is profitable and sustainable, right? And just to as a last thing, I always hear that whenever we speak to any woman entrepreneurs, they always cite that the number one challenge is actually access to finance. You know, I'm sure we all know that. Every time you ask a woman entrepreneur, so what's your challenge? The challenge is access to finance, right? But for me, I don't really, accept that, because I've spoken to many women entrepreneurs. When they tell me that their problem is access to finance, and you ask them, so how much do you need, and for what? Right? And they don't get past that question. They're not sure how much they need and for what they need it, but they just have this mental block about the fact that they can't move on because, they don't have enough money, right? So I think we need to change that mindset a little bit, right? Because a lot of successful entrepreneurs actually started off, without having much money and without getting much assistance from anybody. But if you plan properly, you try to use all your other resources, I think you will get there, inshallah. All right, with that, I'll pass it on back to the top.
Thank you. So much said. You know, you talk about the leadership quality and you talk about the attributes to be a good leader. And you said that there's, potential woman can rise to be a good entrepreneur. But don't fret. Don't talk about, there's not enough money. Let's join with the man. We get their money and we'll do our business. I think that will be a very good relationship and it's symbiotic between men and women. Always don't have this mind concept that everything must be all woman. It will be a disaster. Okay, with that, can we go next to the next speaker, Miss Winnie? Winnie Chan is the CEO and co-founder and for Bean Artisan, and she's from Singapore. Welcome to Malaysia. Yeah, Miss Chan and an experiential gifting concept. That's quite interesting. Let's not elaborate more. Why don't you, I pass it to you and you explain more to our audience today.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
Dato'
Welcome.
Masya. Hi, everyone. My name is Winnie. I have some slides here. That's just to give you an idea of my business. So what I'm sharing is not aligned to the slides. It's just images for you to understand my business better. So I am 51 this year. I am a mother of 2 and also a grandmother of an 18-month-old. So together with my husband.
Very impressive, yeah.
Yeah, I was a child bride, just kidding. So together with my husband and co-founder James, who is here as our male ally amongst the audience, we started a business called Bean Artisan. So at Bean Artisan, we are on a mission to create meaningful and memorable experiences through our unique gifting platform. And we want to help individuals to express their love, their gratitude, their appreciation through our tailored gifts and experiences that are personalized and customized to suit the recipient's personality. So for the first 22 years of my working career, I was working in my family business. My grandfather had started Singapore's first book bindery in 1947. And when I joined the business as a third generation, the business was predominantly in OEM, in book binding, in printing, with a small division in leather crafting. So it was considered a sunset industry, and it was increasingly very difficult, especially to manufacture in Singapore. So the passion and desire to continue my grandfather's legacy of making things by hand and also to fight for survival, to stay relevant, resulted in the Bind Artisan that you see today, an award-winning multi-million-dollar business. So today we are both a combination of analog and digital, old school and new school. So the old school refers to when you go into the store, the touch and feel of the products, the customer service, interacting with our craftsmen, the digital being our journey of tracking the customer journey online, our digital strategies of targeting and retargeting customers, of using key and search words, of using customer loyalty programs to track our customers' lifetime journey. So both of this combined has made us a truly integrated and immersive omni-channel platform. One that has transcended beyond just paper and leather into other things like art, like wood, like ceramic, and beyond. But all these products are not just products or objects. They are the tools that help us to deliver our customers' emotions to their gift recipients. So what I wanted to share about my story that I hope people can take away or would inspire is that you don't necessarily have to be in a tech or fintech or AI industry in order to succeed in the digital world. You could have been like me, you know, you're passionate about something and you could very well go in and redefine the industry to make it relevant in the digital age. So the second thing that I was hoping to share is that when I started the business, I was 42 and my husband was 46. So it does not mean that there are certain fixed pathways to success in life. So don't ever let someone tell you, oh, by this age, you need to achieve certain milestones, that those are fixed. Sorry. So I just wanted to say also that I feel that women leaders can empower other women by creating a supportive and inclusive culture where everyone feels valued and respected. And we can do this by promoting diversity and inclusion initiatives, such as mentoring programs, leadership development, networking opportunities to connect women. So personally for me, I am a part of YWLC, and that is where it is a Young Women's Leadership Connection that is chaired by many of the ministers in Singapore. And that is where we mentor young women about their careers and work life for a year. And I've been a part of that for 6 years, yeah. So in terms of opportunities for women, I feel that sustainability goes beyond just the simple things like recycling. So at Bind, we actually work with FSC certified as well as OECO-Tech certified tanneries and paper mills and suppliers with similar values. So we run workshops and that actually upcycles the raw materials that are offcuts so that we can recycle them. We also work with corporates who are keen to tell the sustainability story. So for example, with Singapore Airlines, we upcycled their A380 old airplane seats and made them into bags. Recently, we did an event with Audi where they were promoting their electronic vehicle. And we actually went in to share about sustainability and also had our craftsmen to craft some keychains for their guests. So I think sustainability is not about mass producing and flooding the market with products. Sustainability is about using less resources to produce and market our goods. And it is about providing a high quality of living for the people who make our goods and sell our goods using quality materials. So I think the most important thing is, in order to innovate, it does not mean that we have to think about disruptive technology. So when we talk about disruptive technology, most people will align it with innovation. And to me, there can be such a thing as non-destructive technology or creation. So I think existing industries, such as self-driving cars, they can actually disrupt and displace jobs. For example, once they're successful, taxi drivers, truck drivers will actually go out of job. So how do we, as women who are more collaborative by nature, more nurturing and more mindful of our wider community, come up with ideas for businesses that are non-disruptive creation, who can actually create a new market and not affect others? So I think some great examples of non-disruptive creation could be microfinance, which did not exist, and actually provided access to funding for people who were just earning $2 a day, who were staying in the rural areas. A new one would be something like Circa DNA, which is a new market. Everyone is keen to actually get their DNA tested to find out more about themselves. And so Binartisan was also a non-disruptive creation, because we did not displace our factory workers when we moved our factory from Singapore to Malaysia. What we did was to upskill and to re-educate. So our factory workers went from the production backroom to the retail forefront to craft for our customers and to provide customer service. So, coming to the end, I think my stories of resilience, perseverance, just shows that with the right skill sets, mindsets, women can continue to make significant contribution to the global economy and to our communities. Thank you.
Thank you, Winnie Chan. Thank you. Well, she's a good example of having to get the recognition and credit for turning a business which is in the sunset industry and leading to highly coveted retail brand. Well done, well done. And the next speaker, we have a young lady here, and she joined the family business Daya Solaris Group, which has been in the paper and corrugated carton industry. I told her last night that I was once upon a time, went to China to sell corrugated, and it was very, very challenging. So let's hear from her what are the challenges and what innovative ideas that you can get to bring this industry to another level. With that, Ms. Cynthia Hirani Wijaya from Indonesia. Welcome.
Thank you, Dato Masna.
Yeah.
First of all, I would like to say that I'm very happy and grateful to be here, especially being surrounded by so many great women in their respective fields and industries. So I first joined the family business Daya Solaris Group, or DSG in short, around 10 years ago. I started working as an internal auditor, and as part of the internal audit team, we had to go around the factories across West and Central Java to create, implement, and audit the systems and standard operating procedures. And then later on, I was moved into the packaging company, where I assisted the CFO due to my finance and accounting background. And then from there, I was moved again to the holding company, where I oversee and manage the financial reporting analysis, managing the family office investments as well. Now, in 2020, it was a very significant year for me, personally, and also for our family business, because we decided to take our sustainability commitment into the next level, where we first formed our sustainability department that I'm currently leading. Aside from the manufacturing and logistics division, we are also in real estate, and this ties in with EcoSolaris, or ECOS in short, because one of our commercial real estate investment is in the co-working and office space. So let me share a little bit about ECOS or Ecosolaris because I think that it's very relevant to today's theme of challenges and opportunities. So when we entered into the co-working industry, we entered originally with a local operator partner. So we were not involved in the day-to-day operations. We were just a landlord, and this was back in early 2020. At that time, our occupancy rate was at 80% because we managed to secure 2 large anchor tenants already. But as you all remember, the start of 2020 was also the start of the COVID-19 pandemic. Hence, as the months progressed, our occupancy rates started to decrease, and its lowest point was around 40%. Eventually, last year, 2022, things started to pick up again, occupancy rates started to increase again. However, what happened was, in late November of last year, our operator partner ceased to operate. They had to close down and they couldn't make it. At that time, right, I remember my father came to me with a question, more like challenged me with a question. He asked, Cynthia, do you think that we can run this space ourselves, especially since the occupancy rate was already very good at around 70%? Long story short, I thought to myself, and I always had this vision of wanting an offline space where I could gather people together to push the sustainability agenda from the SME's point of view, from the startup sector, and also from the corporate sector. Furthermore, when you talk about Solaris Group as a sustainable industrial hub, we always imagine to have an offline hub, an offline space, right, to push further our initiatives. Hence, ECOS was born out of a crisis, actually. It matched very perfectly with my vision of wanting an offline space to push the sustainability agenda and our initiatives further. So that was the journey of ECOS, and we launched only start of this year. And then in late March of this year, we actually established Indonesia's very first climate tech hub, where we work together with a local venture builder that focuses on climate tech startups and founders. Moving on to today's theme about challenges, right? I think that 2023 is a very interesting year for all of us because we have officially exited the pandemic. But the main question that we should be asking ourselves is, did we move out of the pandemic crisis and possibly entering into a new one? And I would like to answer this question with these acronyms that I specifically created for today's session. I'm trying to follow in the footsteps of my great mentor and great friend here, Professor Eniko. She's very famous for her acronyms. So I call this the 3 C's, right? The first C, confidence crisis. And I think that everyone here is very well aware of what's happening in the global economy, the uncertainty in the financial markets, interest rate hikes, inflation, and so on. We cannot help but feel that this accumulation of bad news is going to directly impact the consumer's confidence, the business and investors' confidence in decisions as well. And the second C is a climate crisis. And I think that a lot of the previous speakers have already mentioned about this. Being a circular economy enthusiast myself, I've read the reports. We see that the circularity gap has been increasing from year to year. You see, in 2018, the world was 9% circular. And then we moved to 2020, it dropped to 8%. Currently, in 2023, we are only at 7.2%. What does that mean? This means that more than 90% of our resources and materials are being wasted, lost, or unavailable for reuse. And this is very concerning if you think about it, right? Because we're dealing with finite resources here, and we only have one planet. There is no planet B. So the circular economy system is so integral and important for us to tackle or design out waste and pollution, to keep products and materials in use, and also to regenerate the natural systems. Climate change crisis, half of the equation can be solved by investing in renewable energy sources, but the remainder half of it has got to do with how we manage our resources and materials more efficiently. Now, moving on to the last C, which is a personal favorite, cash is king. And I'm sure that, people in the business world, everyone has heard about this statement before. It's very popular. And maybe it's also related to the confidence crisis that I previously mentioned, right? Because everyone nowadays wants to be more cautious with our investments. We want to invest in safer assets or more of the assets that we have more control over, or at least a better understanding or expertise in. So there's this really big shift and movement in people's mindset and lifestyle that we as entrepreneurs need to prepare ourselves in the coming months. But moving forward, right, I do see two things actually. Number one, crisis does bring in new opportunities. And we see this happening throughout the pandemic as well, right? And when it comes to crisis management, we can employ either of these three strategies. The first is you can remain stagnant. And number two, you can pivot. Or number three, you grow. At the end of the day, the key lies with the people, the management and the teamwork that you build in your company. And we experienced this in Diasolaris Group because we tried to create this 5-year financial and business plans, right? Where we tried to implement test case scenario analysis from the normal case to the best case and worst case. But at the end of the day, we have to leave some room for uncertainty. And the key lies with the people on how we can work together and how we can collaborate together in order to achieve that common goal. Now, the second point that I want to make is also regarding, is based on this really famous Indonesian saying that goes like this: Roda hidup itu terus berputar, which means that the wheel of life keeps on turning. And I was speaking about this, I think, last night with Dato Masna, right? How, in life, you have your ups and downs. It's the same in business as well. We experience the business cycle and we ride through it, especially as entrepreneurs. At the end of the day, right, I think what's important is we need to constantly cultivate our entrepreneurial and leadership spirit. What does that mean? That means that you don't easily give up. You have to keep thinking outside of the box. You have the grit, the perseverance to remain resilient. Why? Because at the end of the day, you're not only accountable for your own lives or your family's lives, but for the many thousands of workers and the communities that you impact and touch, right? So I think that is all that I can share for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. Wonderful explanation to us. But what she has done is also equally to the men. So you've done very well, and we are very proud of you. The last speaker, Professor Major H, is Dato Dr. Chin. You have a very long resume. It's very impressive, Dato. Yeah, because of the running out of time, I would just give the floor to you, and you can share with us your ideas. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dato, for your extraordinary introduction. I'm the thorn among all the roses today. So I will talk about this topic from the different perspective. Since there's no time, I straight away go to the key success factors of women entrepreneurs. I will highlight some of the key success factors of women entrepreneurs. First thing, there must be a propensity for risk-taking. No matter for business, doing business is something like go for hunting. When you go into a forest, when you see a rabbit, then you get the bonus. But when you see a tiger, you will be eaten up by the tiger. So doing business is full of risks. So if you don't have the risk-taking propensity, no matter how smart you are, you cannot do business, because business is not something, it's full of uncertainties. So it's not something that can be predicted, you see. So there are so many uncertainties and up and downs in business. So you must have a propensity for taking risks, then only you can do business. Second thing, before you venture into any business, you must know your trade very well. Let's say you must have the kind of marketing skill before you start any business. You must know your products well and know your customer well before you can go into that business. If not, when you set up your business, the chances of failure is very high because you don't know your customer. Just like the Sun Tzu Warcraft say, know your enemy, know yourself, then you, in 100 battles, you won't lose any battle. So that's why it's very important. You must know yourself very well, know your customer very well. And third thing is, you must be very patient in what you are doing. That means you are willing to sacrifice long hours of working hours, and then some people, they even sleep in the office when they start off the business. When I start out my business also, I was sleeping at the office also. So you must very patiently to what are you doing. That means you must like what you are doing, and you are really want to achieve success out of it. So the number 4 factor is you must be focused on this what I call focus on your thing on the thing you are doing. Maybe focus on certain things you are doing. That means you focus on certain businesses you are doing. No point you do so many businesses, but you cannot achieve success. It's good that you only focus on certain thing you are doing. This is very important because many business fail because they tend to focus on too many things and they don't have any specialty. According to the Jack Welch, the former general managers of GE Electric, he say he only retain those company with the number 1 or number 2 spot in the market. Even the number 3, he also dispose of the business because he feel that no point, you must be a market leader, people will recognize you. You must be either number 1 or number 2 in the market. If number 3 or number 4, nobody can recognize you. So there's no point for you to focus on so many businesses. Number 5, it's very important is that you must be very hardworking because as you know, doing business is something a lot of, you must be very hard. That means you cannot depend on luck. Luck only can help you maybe 1 or 2 times, but only hardworking can really carry you through. Another thing you said, an entrepreneur must be able to believe in something that you cannot see yet. Just like Jack Ma said, you must believe in something that you cannot see. If anybody can see that they only believe, then you're just an ordinary entrepreneur. When you see something yet you don't believe, this is not entrepreneur. So very important, you must believe in what you cannot see at this moment. Just like Jack Ma, when he started off with Alibaba, he cannot see the future of Alibaba also. But after so many failures, he really believe in what he's doing, and also his team also follow him. Later, at the end, he's successful also. So another thing is perseverance. Perseverance is very important because in any business you're doing, you will meet some crisis along the way. Some not only one crisis, a few crises also. So according to study, within 3 years, more than 50% of the business will fail. So only perseverance will carry you through during crisis. Because without this sort of crisis mentality, you cannot go through. So another thing also very important is that you must have crisis mentality. Crisis mentality means that, according to the Chinese proverb saying that when you are living in a comfort zone or in having an easy life, you tend to fail. Only when you are suffering or encounter with many crises, then only you can survive. I think that is very important. In business also, you cannot relax. You must always be on full alert or must have crisis mentality. When you are good times, must think of the bad time. So this is very important. Then only this sort of mentality only can help you to go through the what I call the difficult period. Another thing is that there is any business you do, you must have planning. Because according to study, if you are planning your products, the profit is 80% and your cost only 20%. If you don't have any planning, your cost is 80% and the price is only 20%. So I think this is very important. I think because of time, I just cut short. And then there are 3 O's for success in business, especially during this period. First thing is the O capital. Especially during this time or during COVID time, you don't have O capital, many businesses will just fail. And second thing, you must have O customers, O clients. All these people will help you through to the difficult period. Third thing is the old staff. Those staff who can stay with you during the difficult period. This sort of staff is very important for your company to survive. There are 3 O's for failure in business. First thing is over borrowing. Many business fail because of over borrowing. According to the God of Merchant of China in 3,000 years ago, he say, let's say you got 100 million capital, you can only borrow 50 million. Don't borrow more than that. Because in anything happen, you still can cover back. You still got 50% of the money to cover back your loan. So this is over borrowing. Second thing is overspending. Overspending, that means you spend too much during good time. So this one also will lead you to failure. And the third thing is over expansion. I mean, you expand the business too fast, and then the business cannot sustain. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you, Dato'. This is a very important session, and believe that I'm sure there's a lot of other questions from the floor. Unfortunately, because of our limitation of time, I briefly summarize. Our first speaker here, I'd like to pick up the point from the leadership on the personal operating business for the woman, where she tells us about events plus response plus is equal to outcome. I think that's a very nice narrative for us to bring back home and see how we can apply to our environment. And for Dato' Azlin, you mentioned among things that I picked up is about funding. Have a good business model and you always have got a lot of other funding. And if you really cannot access funding, go and ask the men or your husband or whoever to come and invest. Percaya with us, and then we can put through a successful business venture. And Winnie, very happy to hear from you that you are able to take a sunset industry to something more innovative and which is relevant today. Thank you so much for sharing with us. And for Cynthia, you have got a lot more in front of you, being young, and whatever you mentioned just now, it applies not only to women, it applies to generally all business transactions. And we are very proud that you can lead the women entrepreneurs in that respect. And to Dato', as usual, as a professor, you have done and summarized everything that what entrepreneurs should do. And with that, we thank you so much for sharing your views with us. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I put the session to a close, and thank you very much for listening.